Yo, what's going on, guys? Cultimush back at it with another video, and in this video, we're going to take a look at Tom Clancy's The Division and how it performs on NVIDIA GPUs, namely the GTX 970 and the GTX 950. I wanted to test a higher-end video card like the GTX 970, that retails for around $300, but I also wanted to test out a $150 graphics card to give you guys an idea of what kind of frame rate you could expect, depending on what kind of video card you have. So this is going to give you a pretty decent idea. Now, first I want to take you guys through the settings, which you can see here. Now, up at the top, you've got graphics quality, and if you actually set that to ultra, that's not going to completely max out the game. If you set it to ultra, the game's going to look really freaking good, but there's actually some other things you can up from the ultra preset. You can up the shadow quality, the reflection quality you can up, but keep in mind, if you do go even higher than the ultra preset, you're gonna need a really freaking good video card, something like a 980 Ti at the very least. So first I ran The Division with the GTX 970 on the Ultra preset. On the Ultra preset with the GTX 970, you're not really gonna be touching 60 frames per second. The game's gonna be running at around 45 to 55 frames per second. And when there's something a bit more crazy going on, something like a grenade going off, it will dip to around 41 to 42 frames per second. For me, these settings made the game look really good. Yeah, I know there was a graphical downgrade, but still, running at ultra settings, the game looks pretty freaking good. The frame rate at this setting is something a lot of people are not going to be able to get by. 45 frames per second and dipping to 41 frames per second to a lot of people is just not playable. For me, I still thought the game was very playable, and for the people that think 40 FPS is too low, here is the game running at high settings. With these settings, you're still not going to be getting a completely locked 60 frames per second, but it's going to be pretty close. The lowest that I dipped to on high was around 51 FPS, and for the most part, it was running at around 57 to 62 frames per second, usually even higher than that. And I think that kind of performance for most PC gamers is going to be perfectly acceptable. That is a really good frame rate. And for those of you that want a really smooth frame rate, I would highly recommend playing The Division on high settings with a GTX 970. But if you're a person like me where you can get by with a lower frame rate and you are more of a graphics whore, I thought running the game on the Ultra preset was still very playable and the game just looked really freaking good. But whatever option you guys take, I will leave that up to you. Alright, now moving on to the GTX 950, I tried to play this game on the high preset, that just was not gonna work. I was getting about 25 frames per second and then it was dipping to like 17 to 18 frames per second, and that's just really not playable. So I lowered the game to medium, and on medium the game still looks pretty decent. And with the GTX 950, I was getting about 32 to 35 frames per second. It would dip a little bit if a grenade was going off or something like that. But for the most part, it was a pretty good experience, and yes, while it's not 60 frames per second, those of you with the video card like a GTX 950, you're probably not expecting to get 60 FPS anyway, so this kind of performance on a $130 to $150 GPU is kind of what you would expect. Sure, for some of you longtime PC gamers, you would filter this under completely unplayable, but hey, to me, 32 to 35 frames per second was still pretty playable, and the game still looked pretty decent. So there you guys have it. That's my quick overview of the Division's PC performance on NVIDIA GPUs. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know how the game's been running for you, because I have heard some people have had issues. For me, for the most part, the game's been running pretty smoothly. It's just generally a harder game to run, so you are gonna need a nicer video card if you want to get the best experience possible. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and if you have a request for a future video, leave it in the comment section down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.